Your unique story, our global audience. Global One Media.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Global One Media's Stocks to Watch series as we host exclusive one-on-one interviews with company executives sharing insights into their unique backstory and journey ahead. I'm Ashley Berry, and we're excited to welcome Steve Cochrane, President and CEO of Lithium Chile, a company with one of the top lithium exploration portfolios in the world's top lithium jurisdiction, with active exploration programs underway. And I should add, big updates today. Lithium Chile is listed on the TSX Venture Exchange as LITH and the OTCQB as LTMCF. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Ashley, and it's great to be back to provide you and your listeners an update.
Yeah, so, I read the news release citing your preliminary economic assessment, or PEA, for the Salar de Arizaro property in Argentina. I want to congratulate you on reaching this milestone. But before we delve into the study's details, perhaps you could provide a brief overview of this property.
Absolutely. No question, it's our flagship project at this point in time, starting to mature very quickly from a pure exploration play to really a commercial property, commercial project. Salar de Arizaro, of course, is in Salta province, one of the three lithium provinces, and arguably one of the most pro-mining provinces in all of Argentina. That's a very big plus for us. Arizaro itself is the largest salar in Argentina, with great, obviously great potential. And more importantly, it was our team, the foresight and vision that our team had on Arizaro that actually converted it from a non-commercial, if you like, entity to one of the most commercial, most active exploration projects in Argentina to date. So a great place to be. We are, no question, the front runner. We've got 2 years head start on anybody else in there. But through the work and through the fact they proved that this has commercial potential, it's created a gold rush, if you like, lithium rush in other companies that are in and now active in the area.
Yeah, I would have to imagine the spotlight is certainly on you with all these positive updates coming out of your company. Let's talk about the key financial highlights. Perhaps you could, share the projected NPV for this project and other financial details, such as costs specifically, if you can.
Absolutely. But, the first takeaway is this has been transformational for us, right? It's moved us from a pure exploration play to now a commercial, potentially commercial producing lithium carbonate operation. And again, in Argentina, very pro-lithium, pro-mining. It's attracted a lot of investment over the last number of years, as you know. So it's very transformational. We've moved now really to the second phase of our genesis, and that is now as a potential producing company. So the PEA is that first step. Preliminary economic assessment really looks at everything, engineering costs, and comes up with a valuation on the property and on the project. And we're pleased to announce that we have one of the better initial PEAs coming out of Argentina in recent times. The initial net present value on the project on 3.3 million metric tons was 1.84 billion US. That was pre-tax. After tax, about 1.1 billion. More importantly, the internal rate of return was 29.3%, which is significant because you have to go to neolithium at just over 30% to find a better IRR on initial PEA. In fact, one of our contemporaries, one of our peers, has just put out an updated PEA, including additional resources from their initial, and their updated PEA only showed 1.7 billion net present value and a 25.6% internal rate of return. So we're very pleased that our initial PEA shows such great economic numbers. And I can tell you quite honestly, it woke up a number of institutions because we've been inundated with requests for the actual report itself, which should be ready, and the full report will be ready in another week and a half. The other thing that came out of it was the CapEx. The capital expenditure came in about 863 million US for the project. It's a very conservative number. We've had a number of people review the report itself and tell us that they were very conservative on their cost estimates. We think we can improve on that. And in fact, we have now moved to the next step. And I know we'll talk a little bit about it later on, but we've actually now retained Ausenco to begin the pre-feasibility study, which will start to narrow down and firm up some of those numbers. So CapEx at 863 million. While it seems large, given the economics of the project right now, it's a pre-tax payback in an after-tax payback in 3.6 years, a pre-tax payback in 3.5 years. So that capital expenditure will be paid off in under 4 years, which is amazing. And it's interesting, that's using an average lithium price of 21,300 US over the life of the project, which in recent PEAs I've seen done is on the lower end. Most of the other PEAs have used a 22,000 plus average price for lithium. So again, a very conservative number that for a lithium over the next 20 plus years that has been used in calculating those numbers.
Wow. So you also mentioned that Ausenco completed this study in compliance with the National Instrument 43101 standards of disclosure for mineral projects. So I think this is really important maybe to explain the significance of adhering to these standards, because you say those numbers are conservative. I hear those numbers, they sound very impressive to me. So maybe we could talk about the specific standards for mineral projects here.
Well, first of all, Ausenco did a great job. They had this PEA put together in under 6 months, which is, again, recognition of not only their work, but the contribution made by our team on the ground. Ausenco is one of the largest engineering firms in the world, has been working in South America for over 25 years, and is widely considered one of the more conservative, one of the better engineering firms for the PEA. The PEA and its regulatory compliance is significant. It's universally recognized as one of the more rigid, one of the more reliable sort of engineering reports one can have done. And that's important, because if you have a whole bunch of different sort of applications, different sort of standards, then it gets confusing. Right. But when you recognize that this PEA and the rules and regulations that were followed to complete it are some of the highest regulatory standards in the world, people can look at these numbers with a lot of confidence that this is not plucked out of the sky or just sort of arbitrary numbers. There's been over 5,000 hours of engineering work that has gone into the creation of this PEA. So it should give anybody that looks at that, and more importantly, looks at the numbers, a huge degree of confidence that obviously, the work that's gone into it, one can rely on just those numbers. So we're very pleased both with the report itself and the numbers, but also the fact that it was done to the highest standards in the world.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that you clarify that, because, as you say, either too many cooks in the kitchen, too many hands in the pot, things can get confusing. And so the fact that this, really there's accountability factor here. And so I think that's fantastic. Yeah, and I appreciate you mentioning that, because I think it's important for the viewers to understand that, because as you said, there could be many other factors involved. And this one was a narrow focus. 5,000 hours, you said?
5,000 hours,
wow.
And that jumps to 20,000 hours of engineering work when you go to pre-feasibility. So you can see that there's an awful lot of work that goes into these reports, and that just again lends to the credibility.
Yeah, it certainly reinforces. Absolutely. Steve, the implications, what kind of implications do these updates hold for the Salar de Arizaro project? Maybe you could outline upcoming steps for that property. I know you just got back from Chile and Argentina. You were able to see it firsthand. So I think it'd be interesting for our viewers to hear a little more about that.
The project's advancing on all fronts. And one thing this report did do is create a lot of buzz. I can tell you, in all honesty, we've had some overtures prior to the PEA. Those have tripled. The inquiries, the interest in what we're doing in Arizaro has just increased fourfold. We were at a lithium conference in Salta the last week. We were there 2 days, 1,700 people in attendance. And I can tell you quite honestly that well, not maybe the most popular people at the conference, we were certainly one of the most sought out people to ask those questions that you've been asking. How great are these numbers? What's your next steps? As mentioned earlier on, the next big step for us in the commercialization of the property is the pre-feasibility study, PFS, which we've initiated now, again with Ausenco, a much more detailed, much more thorough report. It will now look at your resources and convert them to reserves, which is really where your value starts to increase exponentially when you can actually talk to reserves and understand more of the potential life expectancy. We are drilling additional wells right now. We've completed hole 7, diamond drill hole, and we've moved to hole 8. This is in brand new territory on the property. We've been sort of concentrating in the southwest quadrant of our claims on Arizaro. That's where the 3.3 million resources come from. We're now moving to the north and to the east and opening up 35% of the claims of the project that haven't been drilled yet. And we think that can add again significantly to the overall resource, which will play into the timing will be great because it'll be playing into the next report on the project, which will be the pre-feasibility. So lots of work being done in advancing the project on the ground. More importantly, the work being done to prove not only to ourselves, but to the world, the real value, the real economic value of this project. And I just think that's going to increase the interest in what we're doing. And we've seen it. I mean, as mentioned earlier on, the activity on Arizaro has exploded. And we have, and this probably dovetails with your last question on, what do we see for shareholders and what do we see for the company? Well, I know I sound a bit like a broken record, but I think we're extremely undervalued, not only relative to this recent PEA, but looking at some of our contemporaries, some of our other peers, we're certainly the most undervalued of those companies. And to reinforce that, and just to reiterate, there was an auction this week. There are some claims on Arizaro that are owned by the province of Salta, the Energy and Mining Crown Corporation called REMSA, which is owned by the province of Salta, put up 5 blocks of claims for bid. The bidding closed Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. 13 companies, including ourselves, participated. The final winners will not probably be known for 3 weeks yet. But just as an example, YPF, which is the Argentinian National Oil and Gas Company, bid on 3 blocks totaling 10,000 hectares only. This is raw exploration property. It's in the northern lobe of Arizaro. Nothing really has been done there yet, but they were so interested and I guess so optimistic that they bid $120 million US for 10,000 hectares. We have 20,000 hectares and now a PEA supported resource of 3.3 million metric tons, and our entire market cap is 120 million US. And that doesn't include the Chilean assets or the Chilean property. So just to put it in perspective from a valuation standpoint, the largest oil and gas company, the national oil and gas company in Argentina, thought enough of the Arizaro project to bid $120 million for raw land. So if one wants to look at a justification for a higher price, all you have to do is look there. And I think there's going to be a lot of these companies that don't win. And again, that's just going to make us more attractive, I think, as a potential acquisition target.
I would say it's pretty attractive right now. As I said earlier, spotlight being on you, all of this interest, so many significant updates. Not to mention, I think the biggest takeaway, at least for me listening to all of this from you, is that you are really on the cusp of commercialization. That's huge, Steve.
That's obviously the end game. The plan is to produce currently, and it was included in the PEA, is to produce 25,000 metric tons a year over the current life of the project, which is 20 years. It'll make us a significant player, certainly in the South American lithium industry, and I think globally it'll put us in the top tier of producers.
From all I can see, you are well on your way. Steve Cochrane, President and CEO of Lithium Chile, thank you so much for your time and for joining Stocks to Watch with Global One Media. We look forward to sharing updates with our audience.
Great. Thank you, Ashley.